please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening, you're watching CNBC TV18. I'm Arundhati Ramnan and this is Reporter's Diary. Straight on to all the action from Dalal Street. The markets traded in a strict range today until a last-hour dip dragged the indices lower. The Nifty traded in a 40-point range, but selling pressure in the last hour ensured that index ended with a cut of 0.5%. The Sensex ended lower by 150 points. The mid-caps, however, outperformed today with that index gaining about 0.25%. US President Donald Trump has made his trade war with India official days after threatening the Narendra Modi government with retaliatory duties on exports. The United States has filed a complaint against almost all of India's export subsidy programs at the World Trade Organization. Remember, this move comes hours after the Trump administration appointed Larry Kudlow, a conservative economist, as the new economic advisor. Rituparna Bhuyan joins in with more on this story. Ritu, where does the situation currently stand?
India is staring at one of the biggest trade disputes at WTO. United States has sought consultation with India on several export schemes, which includes the merchandise exports from India scheme, the export-oriented unit scheme, the ACG scheme, the electronics hardware technology parks scheme, the EPCG scheme, as well as the duty-free imports scheme. Net, almost all policies that are present in India's foreign trade regime, these are being challenged by the United States. So what is US saying as it seeks to challenge India's trade policies? According to US, over the past several years, India has given at least $7 billion worth of export incentives annually to its exporters. For example, US is saying that between the year 2000 and 2017, there was a 6,000% increase in exports from ACZs. Also, it talks about how 8,000 products were added to the merchandise exports from India scheme. The EOU scheme, for example, it has seen an increase of 160% in exports between 2000 and the year 2016. So net, US has challenged the entire export regime that India follows. Now we'll have to wait and see what kind of response India gives to the US, and if US then decides to escalate this to a full-blown trade dispute at WTO. With that, it's back to you.
So we'll have to wait and see what comes out of that. Thank you so much for those details, Ritu. India doesn't see United States move at WTO as a trade war. That's the response from Commerce Secretary Rita Teotia in a conversation with CNBC TV18's Rituparna Bhuyan. Commerce Secretary also said that India will engage actively with the United States at the WTO. She went on to add that according to WTO norms, India has an 8-year window till 2024 to phase out its export subsidies.
US is India's biggest export market, but given the fact that there are several trade disputes now, are we looking at a full-blown trade war between India and US? How would you see it?
I do not see any trade war between India and the United States. I believe that we both have very significant interests in each other's markets. We are friendly countries. And I think that we wish to engage with each other. We certainly wish to do business with each other. So I don't see it as a trade war. Use of trade remedies, trade disputes is an ongoing sort of process. It's a part of the WTO framework. And both India and the United States use this where there is requirement. But I do not consider this a trade war by any means. And we will continue to export to the United States, and I'm sure that they will continue to export to us.
And last question, ma'am, then what will be our contention regarding this point which US has raised? That is one. And secondly, are we then looking at reviewing our export policies also so that we are compliant to WTO norms?
Look, I think I've said this a couple of times over already. We are very clear that the agreement on subsidies provides an 8-year period for phasing out of export subsidies to developing countries. India has just graduated. We presumed and we understand that we have a period of 8 years in order to phase out these subsidies. This is the position that we will share with the United States, and we hope that they would understand the need for special and differential treatment for developing
And
countries.
we'll also, review our export policies, which after perhaps 8 years, it will be compliant to.
Certainly, we have never failed to honor our commitments to the WTO, and we will do so.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
The Commerce Secretary there saying there will be no trade war with the USA. On to a CNBC TV18 exclusive news break. According to sources, the government has disbanded the high-level Indian-only auto panel. This after foreign auto manufacturers raised concerns over their exclusion from the panel. Remember, the high-level panel was formed last year. Ron Joy Banerjee is here with the details. Ron, what is the government's rationale behind disbanding this panel?
Well, let me jog your memory. This panel, as you said, was formed last year, and this panel had representatives from DIPP, PMO, Ministry of Heavy Industry, Road Transport Ministry. Along with that, they also had representatives from 5 Indian automakers: Tata Motors, Mahindra and Mahindra, Ashok Leyland, Force Motors and Hero MotoCorp. And the thinking within the government was that automobile industry is a key strategic industry, and they wanted more design work to happen out of India. Even though over the years we've seen a lot of R&D work taking place in this country, but designing of vehicles was still taking place in a handful, 3 or 4 countries, and that is what the government wanted to change. And as a result of which, because so much of design work was happening outside of India, there was heavy royalty payout, and this was one of the concerns that the panel had raised. Of course, keeping a company like Maruti Suzuki in mind, which pays almost 6% of their overall net sales go in royalty. Now what we understand is that government has disbanded this panel, as we first reported on this channel a couple of months ago, that this had created a rift within the auto industry, with many foreign OEMs wondering that is the government, by virtue of excluding foreign OEMs, when it comes to deliberating on policy matters, was that a form of discrimination? And as a result of which, many foreign OEMs had raised concerns. But now the government has said, nothing doing, we will not go ahead with this. We're not going to have a panel only for Indian auto companies. We're going to deliberate and discuss with all the automakers. Let's see whether this would be enough to assuage the concerns of foreign OEMs.
Absolutely. So the government are hitting the brakes on the Indian-only auto panel. Thank you so much for those details, Ron. Let's focus now on a CNBC TV18 exclusive from the insolvency space. We told you first yesterday that Binani Cement's lenders have voted in favor of a consortium led by Dalmia Bharat to take over Binani Cement's assets. We now learn that Binani Cement's parent company, Binani Industries, is planning to challenge that verdict in the NCLAT. Nisha Podar joins us now with the details. Nisha, what is the bone of contention here?
Like most of the cases under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code and the asset sale process under that, this one, the Binani Cement case, has also gone to the court, and there's a murky legal battle that is now going to progress there. So what I do gather from sources with direct knowledge is that Binani Industries, the promoter of Binani Cement, which had already gone to the appellate court, NCLAT, earlier against the COC and the RP, have really filed another petition challenging the decision taken by COC and the RP on awarding Binani Cement to Dalmia Bharat. Now, they have challenged that while there was a higher bid coming in from Ultratech, the COC and the creditors have really gone ahead with Dalmia Bharat's bid. They have also called it a contempt of court because the matter was sub judice. Now, on the other hand, remember, the COC and the RP are pushing for getting the approval of the NCLT for going ahead with the sale process to Dalmia Bharat and the consortium. So both these are going hand in hand. On the other hand, remember, there's another area to be watched out for in terms of the court legal tangle and the court cases. NCLT is where Ultratech has also challenged the decision by COC and RP, stating that their higher bid should have been considered by the creditors for buying out Binani Cement. So yes, it's going to be quite a complicated and a messy affair. We'll have to see whether NCLT really takes up the approval process and goes with the decision of COC and RP, or on the other hand, listens to the aggrieved parties, Ultratech as well as Binani Industries.
Welcome back. You're still with us on Reporter's Diary. The government has received refund claims of 28,000 crore rupees and has cleared refunds of around 11,000 crore rupees, says Upendra Gupta, the commissioner of the GST policy cell. He spoke to Shireen Bhan at CNBC TV18 Tax Sutra GST Summit today, and here's an excerpt of that conversation.
We're given to understand that at the level of the Prime Minister's office, the matter of exporter refund has been raised, and there have been a few meetings that have happened just last week on being able to address this issue. Where do things stand? Because the government says it's the exporting community's fault. They're filling the forms the wrong way. There are concerns that have been raised with respect to how they're filing their returns, etc. Exporters are saying, look, we've been coming to the government and yet our problems are not addressed. In fact, the Commerce Ministry is now taking up this issue as well with Finance as well as the PMO. Where do things stand?
No, as you are aware that 15th today, we have started a refund clearance fortnight, which is up to 29th for 2 weeks. Today itself, we have issued a circular clarifying all these points which were raised to us by the trade and industry. The circular is already available on our website. The problem...
What is the quantum of the blocked refunds today, sir?
Blocked refunds numbers, you know, it would be the total refund claims which has come to us according to information available is about 28,000 crores, out of which about 10-11,000 crores have already been released.
Okay.
So remaining IGST refund is handling through customs, as you are aware. So there the problem of mismatch in GSTR 1 and 3B is there. Solution has been found. So whatever claims have come to customs and many more which are pending in GSTN, we are trying to get them pushed to customs from GSTN. So we hope that the substantial chunk of this refund claims would be cleared. The problem with respect to ITC refunds was pointed, many concerns were raised. We have clarified about 14 points today in the circular which have been issued, so that the refunds are processed in a uniform manner by the center as well as the state tax authorities. The circular which has been issued clarifies all the concerns which were told to us.
Okay.
So it gives the clear guidelines, what are the documents which are to be seen while processing, what is to be seen by way of declarations which the exporters are submitting, what is to be done in case of mismatches. Everything has been clarified today. Okay. And we are hopeful that most of this we should be able to see a marked improvement on 29th.
To the big story from the political space, sources tell Network 18 that the Telugu Desam party may pull out of the NDA tomorrow. Remember, last week, TDP chief and Andhra Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu pulled his 2 ministers from the cabinet over the centre refusing to grant special category status to the state. Maria Shakil joins us now. Maria, what are you picking up?
Well, there's no immediate trigger if you look at it, that there has the centre's position on what they can really deliver with regards to Andhra Pradesh special status is very clear. The Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has made it clear that what they can do is as per the 14th Finance Commission, which means that the state of Andhra can be given a special package, not a special status. But what looks like is the trigger is coming from the opposition in the state of Andhra Pradesh. This is pure domestic politics and domestic compulsions under which Chandrababu Naidu is operating, because YSR Congress and Jagan Reddy has asked 6 MPs. They have just 6 MPs in the 15th Lok Sabha, and these 6 MPs were seen in the Central Hall of Parliament today canvassing and trying to garner support of 54 MPs to really move that first no confidence motion against the Modi government. In fact, the TDP sources are saying that in case if such a motion is moved, then they would be backing the YSR motion as well. So clearly he understands that there is domestic compulsion. The kind of pressure that is being built by Jagan Reddy, because he has been touring the state of Andhra Pradesh for the last few months and getting a lot of support in terms of public support. And the question that he has asked directly to Chandrababu Naidu, is this some kind of blackmailing that he is indulging in with regards to the central government, and that if he is indeed serious about the interests of the people of Andhra Pradesh, then he should go ahead and even quit NDA, because the centre's stand is known. It's Chandrababu Naidu's stand that is not known. So he has been clearly pushed against the wall. He has little or no option, because when he announced that he will be pulling out his ministers, that was after Finance Minister Arun Jaitley did that press conference talking about what the centre can do. And thereafter, Mr. Naidu said that he will continue to be part of NDA. What had happened was that when the Prime Minister made that call to Mr. Naidu, the BJP certainly was hoping that there would be some negotiation, that Mr. Naidu would understand. In the past, Mr. Naidu too has bagged a special package over a special status, and because of the domestic compulsions that he is facing, and with elections not very far, what we are so told now is that there is a Politburo meeting that is scheduled for tomorrow, and that announcement of him withdrawing from NDA and quitting NDA once and for all can come tomorrow itself. And parallelly, he is also in touch with other regional parties because the first call for some kind of a third front or a federal front, non-BJP, non-Congress front, has already come from KCR, and he has also sought support from Mr. Naidu.
Absolutely, Maria. So we'll have to wait and see what comes tomorrow. Thank you so much for those details. Moving on, Tamil Nadu's revenue deficit has breached the 18,000 crore rupee mark. That's the worrying statistic coming out of the state's budget that was presented by its finance minister, O. Pannirselvam. But on the bright side, the state has clocked a healthy GST-driven revenue collection of close to 87,000 crore rupees. CNBC TV18's Jude Sanith is standing by to bring us all the highlights of the state's budget. Jude, over to you.
Well, that's right. The Tamil Nadu budget was presented on the floor of the Assembly today, and almost immediately the one worrying statistic for the Tamil Nadu government is that revenue deficit has swollen up to 18,370 crore rupees. Remember, that statistic was just 15,930 crore rupees last year, which itself was a very worrying figure. So the swelling up of that number to 18,370 crore rupees is sure to cause some concern for the state government here. However, to its credit, the Tamil Nadu government says it intends to control this number to around 17,491 crore rupees for the next fiscal. But good news, GST revenues alone have totaled to 86,859 crore rupees for the Tamil Nadu government. Remember, the state was one of the few GST-averse states prior to the rollout of the tax in July last year. In fact, totally, the tax revenues in the state have stood at 98,693 crore rupees, a shortfall by way of state excise and local taxes primarily being put down to as the reason as opposed to GST itself. But in what must also come, and in fact the projection for the next year is close to 1.12 lakh crore rupees. So Tamil Nadu government keen on raking up and increasing its tax revenue going forward. But what must be some cause for concern is a total debt burden that's estimated to be 3.55 lakh crore rupees for FY19 that the Tamil Nadu government says will of course be some cause of worry. But overall, a widening revenue deficit being the major cause of concern this year. Back to you.
All right, Jude, thank you so much for taking us through those details. But with that, it is a wrap on this edition of Reporter's Diary. Many thanks for watching, but up next is Young Turks. Stay tuned to CNBC TV18.